right, so we talk about brands a lot, and we talk about branding as one of the key ways that Secret Entourage as a whole has become kind of a stronger presence in the younger community of entrepreneurs. And a lot of people ask me questions. So for this week's Ask Me Anything, I'm going to address branding a little bit and what makes certain brands very strong. I know we've talked about this previously, but I think it's still unclear to some what maybe more in depth about like how to establish a brand. So remember this, that brands are not born, they're made, right? They're created and they're built and then they're engineered once they get to that stage where they're actually up and running. What I mean by that is a brand is only becomes a brand when it creates an emotional reaction out of your audience, and it does so by doing so consistently, the same emotion through various audiences, your primary audience, your secondary audience. Everybody feels the same about your brand, and when everybody feels the same about your brand, everybody tends to agree about these attributes that make your product into this brand. So to give you a simpler example, I always use Apple because I think it's one of the greatest examples in human history as to how a brand is really like has taken a shape and also has meaning ultimately. So think about it. Like they're known for design, simplicity, and reliability. Why are they considered a beautiful brand? Because most people agree when they compare their Apple products to other products that their Apple products are prettier, are just better designed products. Now, we're not talking about Android does more than iOS and all that crap. We know that. Like, that's fine. That's a fact. In this case, we're talking about not technology, because Apple is not known for its advancement in technology, but it's really known for its design, its simplicity, right, in design and in use. Like, it's simple, it's easy. It makes technology accessible, even to people who are not technology savvy or enjoy technology, right? It makes it pleasurable. And it does that by becoming beautiful in design and also, being reliable, not causing extra headaches for people. Because remember when your PC breaks, right? And you're not an expert PC like crash repair guy and you have no idea what the hell's going on and now you don't use your computer anymore. Like that turns you off from using your computer. But when you have an Apple, for example, and it doesn't get a virus but once every like 10 years, then you've gotten accustomed to having a working computer and you rely on it and you're now changing your outlook as to how you think about computers. So them creating this consistency in design, reliability, and usability has given them that brand name that enables them to become a household name across the board. And so every time a new product comes out at Apple, you ultimately are really, really, really looking for these elements to be there, and you trust that they will be. That's why people line up. So, when you're talking about reliability and quality, these are things that are slowly breaking apart now with the iPhone 6 for Apple. So if you think about like the Apple, iPhone 6 bending and the bad reviews and the screens breaking and all that stuff, despite supposedly being this very innovative product, right? Well, now you have this trust that's built into the brand where people are like, I have this minimum expectation that if I pay premium money, I'm going to get a premium Apple product. And when they don't, that's when the brand starts breaking apart. And if they've been disappointed slightly before, because we now know that it's been a few times now that Apple's put out a product that's not really innovative anymore, that's not as reliable as it used to be, and that really hasn't changed in design and taken that next form or shape. So that is going to slowly start losing its edge. It doesn't mean Apple is going down as a company. It simply means that Apple is going to have to be very cautious because it could use a huge user base. Especially now that Microsoft is back in the game, Nexus and some of these other players, are coming into the kind of the same realm. So I strongly, urge you, if you're building a brand, to consider these few things. Your brand is built when your product or service or whatever it is you do, the behaviors of your business become consistent. When the behaviors of your business become consistent and the majority of your users, let's say 1,000 users, 1,000 fans, become diehard fans for the same reasons, then that is an attribute of your brand. So if you say something along the lines of, people at Secret Entourage are always helpful, and I'm just giving you an example, and we always answer emails quickly, we always, refer people where we can help them, whatever we can do, then we, over time, when enough people agree, then that will be an attribute of our brand. And the same can be said for things like, when you look at a Ferrari, like you expect the racing heritage because every one of their cars, has that feel and evokes the same emotion out of their users. So these are part of what makes, a product, a service, or a business into a larger brand. And when you talk about brands, you have to talk about verticals. Like, brands can't just really have one product. They can stand for different things, but it has to be consistency across the board. And if you have only one product, it's going to take so much longer for people to see these attributes that are in common between all the things you could be offering. So, if Secret Entourage only had one platform, it didn't have the Academy, Third Circle Theory, and everything else, it would take a lot longer for people to try to understand how to connect the dots between what we do. Not on an out there level, but rather on a subconscious level. So when you think about branding, it's the exact same thing. When you're building your business, you have to think about verticals. Like, you have different products or different services or different ways to look at them, and you have to understand what is consistent across the board. Now, once you decide what your brand attributes are, like if you're like, I want to be reliable, I want to be this, and I want to be that. Like, let's say I want to make beautiful products, or I want to make fitted suits, like something that fits people a certain way, or wheels that fit a certain way, or flush, or whatever it is, right? Once you make that conscious decision that these attributes are what your brand stands for, here's your quality control process. You cannot make a single action. You cannot take a single move forward. You cannot create a single product until it meets these attributes exactly. So I'll give you a good example. I recently was on the podcast, The Art of Charm, with Jordan over in San Francisco. Went up, met with him and everything else. And he said something to me that was like, I really like the guy. And I like the guy because he really believes in what he's doing. He has a great story, and you'll see it come up on the Secret Entourage Academy as well. But one of the main things that he said to me when he was like, I was struggling as a college student, I was growing up to get into this 8-figure business. And I was like, so, what was the key to getting there? And he says, well, I decided that every single person I was going to interact with, regardless that it was on a business level, on a personal level, or anything else, I was going to leave them at a better place than before I met them. So in other words, what he was saying is that every interaction he has, he ensures there is value for the other person talking to him, regardless that it's someone up there or someone at the bottom, or someone, working their way up, a business owner. He just makes sure that every interaction is equally valuable. This could be just buying a cup of coffee or having a coaching session. And so one of the things that I admire about that is that there's so many people who don't care, right? Who do things for the money, but when they go to Starbucks to get a coffee, they're all pissy because they had a bad day and they themselves are under a lot of stress. But with Jordan, one of the things that I loved is that his attitude, because he understood that his brand was really himself, he understood that he was about value, and that had to stay with him no matter what he did. And so, that's just one way that over time his audience has now understood that there's a lot of value. They see it, and that's why he's one of the #1 podcasts, in the self-help industry, which is very, very competitive, as well as the fitness and training industry. So either ways, just some food for thought around branding if you're building a business, or if you're just trying to understand how you set yourself up as a brand. And hope that you found value in this week's Ask Me Anything. So, in this week's Ask Me Anything, I'm not sure if all of you have seen the Grant Cardone interview I did. Grant Cardone is like the guy that's